Now, let's go to Qatar. Gareth Roberts of the Anfield Wrap is with us this morning as he's following Liverpool to the FIFA Club World Cup finals. It's a bit of a mouthful. Gareth, they left it late yesterday. It's kind of the pattern of the season. It's good to see that it's not just a run-of-the-mill English Premier League game that they take that attitude into. It's also a World Cup semi-final.
Yeah, and it's a good habit to have. I think it's the third injury time winner this season. It's the sixth time this year. And it's what good sides do, isn't it? I mean, you know, I'm a Liverpool fan. I've watched Liverpool for a long, long time. And as a Liverpool fan, it was so annoying to watch Manchester United win so many games under Alex Ferguson in Fergie time, as we then called it. You know, Liverpool have got their own habit now. We've got Kloppage time. And we scored another one in Kloppage time last night and won. So, yeah, it's a fantastic habit to have, and long may it continue.
The weird thing about this is that even when the team is playing badly, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, partly because everybody talks about it. It gets into the opposition minds. Maybe that was not the case against Monterrey last night, but certainly watching back at home, the Premier League is going to be going, all right, they can do this almost. And it's not necessarily anything to do with the quality of football that they're playing at that specific moment.
Yeah, it becomes a psychological thing on both sides, I think. So for Liverpool, they continue to believe that they can score. They keep going to the very end. We've seen that over and over again. The mindset collectively across the squad is brilliant. We've seen the kids do it as well. When they played against Arsenal in the League Cup, you know, they managed to claw it back and then ended up winning on a penalty shootout. It seems that it's ingrained right through the club, so it works for Liverpool. And as you say, it works against opponents, because I think if you're up against Liverpool, you know that, you've done your research, you know that they're strong in the final 10, 15 minutes and into injury time. It will start to creep into your mind as well. And so both ways, it's a win for Liverpool. I think Liverpool are one of the fittest sides around as well. I think that's worth saying. I think the medical staff they've got, the work they've done behind the scenes on getting the players to the very fittest they can be is very, very clear, because you see, you know, various sides tired. I thought Monterrey were among them last night. Liverpool started to get on top towards the end when they brought substitutes on. There was an up in the pace, which Monterrey didn't seem to be able to deal with. And then ultimately they've won another game. And as I say, it's a brilliant habit to have. And it's likely going to lead to silverware this season, I would say.
The big question is, can Virgil van Dijk get back in the team and displace Jordan Henderson at the heart of the defence?
Yeah, that was bizarre seeing Jordan there, and I was really worried about it, to be honest, because, you know, we've never seen him there before. He has jobbed at right back a couple of times for Liverpool, but seeing him at centre-half was a little bit of a worry, because you thought it's going to take something away from the defence, obviously, not having Van Dijk there. It's going to take something away from the midfield, not having Henderson there, but I thought he did well. He did as well as can be expected. Not Virgil standards, but who is Virgil standards? I mean, he's one of the best centre-halves, if not the best in the world right now. So, of course, you're going to miss him. But I thought Henderson did really, really well. He's an organiser. He's a captain. He's a captain for a reason. And he did a great job there, I thought.
It's funny how the conversation about not leaving his second team behind to play the game against Villa, and actually the majority of those players who might have started, who might be considered non-starters at the moment, get the start in the game against Monterrey. So Lallana starts, Shaqiri starts, Origi starts. Even Oxlade-Chamberlain isn't really a starter just at the moment. Hugely important for those players to feel like they're being legitimately given an opportunity to show what they can do. And here it is, a World Club semi-final. You know, it's an amazing piece of man management to be able to get that team out, shoehorn a midfielder into centre-back and come through it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've seen Klopp do this over and over. I mean, we've seen Fabinho at centre-half, we've seen Wijnaldum at centre-half away at Brighton. And so it's something that he does. I think what he does with the mindset, which I think is really interesting, is I think in any other situation or in this situation even, you would hear a lot of moaning, a lot of griping from managers, a lot of saying, well, we've got all these injuries and we're having to play a midfielder at centre-half. Klopp doesn't do that. And I think, you know, the players don't do that either. And that's the real difference I noticed from the past. You know, that would be pitched as being a problem, and everyone would go to the match going, we've got a problem. Instead, now we'll be all right, because we've been all right so many times before. And as you say, you know, to get something out of all the players on the periphery over and over again. I mean, Keita as well is another one where, you know, he scored 3 goals now, and I think in a very short space of time, obviously scores against Bournemouth as well. he now is getting towards the player we thought we were signing. And if we're getting him at this stage of the season, when we're going for so many trophies, when there's so many games, when it's so intense, if he can come in and be a match winner for Liverpool, score goals, then again, that's brilliant time. And you know, it was good to see Mane, Firmino, Trent Alexander-Arnold get some rest in their legs, because they're going to need to go again, obviously, on Saturday. And then the big worry for us, to be honest with you, is just how will this trip affect Liverpool when they return to play in the Premier League? Obviously, Leicester are flying. We've got Leicester on Boxing Day away, a really tough game. But you do feel that if we can go there and get any kind of result, it's going to make it very, very hard for anyone to catch Liverpool in the Premier League. Yeah,
look, at this stage it's kind of jet lag, and potentially if they were to lose the World Cup final, if there was any kind of hangover about that. What level of confidence do you have, though, that that's not going to happen, that they're going to win on Saturday?
Well, Flamengo, you know, got some good players, haven't they? They're a good standard of football. I don't think they played particularly well in the first half in their game, which is interesting because it's almost that every side seems to have had that. You mentioned jet lag, and I wonder about it myself because, you know, I'm certainly feeling it, and all I'm doing is watching and talking about football. I'm not running around playing it. I think it does affect you, obviously, going into different time zones and things like that is difficult, no matter how much you're looked after and no matter how much you're pampered. I think the pitch as well has been quite heavy with the rain and a lot of football played on it. So every side, it seems, has struggled to find its rhythm. So it'd be interesting, I think, if, you know, the Flamengo that we've seen in the first half, if Liverpool are facing that and it's the Liverpool at its best, I don't see any problems. They played a lot better in the second half. So it's all about, I think it's all about what levels, you know, the two sides can reach. Can they be the best versions of themselves? If Liverpool are the best versions of themselves, fully expect them to win. If there's any kind of drop-off, I don't think we can underestimate the Brazilians. They really want to win it. They're singing lots of songs around the city about when they beat Liverpool in 1981. They want to do the same in 2019. So Liverpool have got to make sure that that's not the case.
What's your view on the Takumi Minamino signing? Because on the face of it, it seems like a no-brainer financially. They're going to get him for £7.25 million. No matter what happens, they're going to probably get a markup on that eventually. But on a footballing level, does this suggest that perhaps Klopp just needed just a little bit extra when it came to the engine, when it came to perhaps a few options behind the attack for Liverpool?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well that he thought maybe Brewster was going to offer a little bit more this season. He talked him up pre-season, and then when he's had a chance, I don't think he's fully taken it. And now there's talk that Ryan Brewster will go out on loan. There's talk of Curtis Jones going out on loan as well, who I like and I think has done well. But you know, this player's a step up from that. He's someone who's playing in the Champions League. He performed really well against Liverpool, and he can play in a variety of positions. He works really hard as well. He's creative. He can score goals. Very much feels like a Jurgen Klopp player. And we were all talking when we saw him play against Liverpool about, you know, you wouldn't mind seeing him for Liverpool. It seems that the players were saying the same thing, and it seems that Klopp was already looking at him, and a deal was taking place behind the scenes, and it looks like it's pretty much done. So I think it would be really. It's just been confirmed. Oh, brilliant news. Well, I think as well that, you know, with that, the one thing for me that's always been a problem for Klopp and Liverpool in recent times is how do you rest Bobby Firmino? Because there's no one else really in the squad that can do his type of role, his type of job. It always felt that when you were putting, you know, Origi in there, you were shoehorning him in. It didn't. Liverpool didn't feel quite the same. I think with this player, when he comes in, he can potentially do the Bobby Firmino role and give Bobby Firmino a rest. So for that reason alone, it seems like really smart business.
Can we talk a little bit about what it's actually like out on the ground in Qatar? Obviously, so much talk about sports washing and the difficulties around human rights for the people who've been building the stadiums, the people who are actually working there around the World Cup. What's it actually like on the ground? What's your experience there?
I mean, we haven't been here a very long time. We got here first thing yesterday morning. The first thing we did when we got here was have a sleep because, you know, it's really difficult to sleep on long-haul flights, certainly is for me anyway. So we had a sleep. Then we went sort of to the fan zone, which will obviously be used for the World Cup. And, you know, the facilities were excellent. It looked brilliant, really well organised. And then there were shuttle buses that took you to the stadium. Around the stadium, I've got to be honest, I didn't think the organisation of the crowd was the best. There was a bit of a struggle getting in time for kick-off. It didn't really feel like they were ready for that, and it feels like that's something they've got to work on. In terms of just seeing, you know, the place itself, obviously, you know, money is everywhere. You can see that with the skyscrapers and the Lamborghinis that are going around the place. We did come through an area in the taxi from the airport, which was clearly where, the likes of the people who are working on the stadiums live, and the contrast is really, really harsh. But I mean, that's not exclusive to Doha. That's something you see all over the world. You can see that in London. You can see that in Liverpool. Poor areas right next to opulent areas is not a new thing. So our sense of what it's like here, is maybe not the greatest just yet, because we're only really on sort of day one. But certainly it's there. You can see the contrast. You can see the different living conditions. And obviously we've all read the stories which leave a bit of a sour taste in the mouth about how they've been treating those workers.
Yeah, on a personal level, did you think long and hard about going, or did you go, look, I'm going as a football fan and I need to see this and I'm going to report back on it? What was that decision-making process?
No, we had a good think about it at the Anfield Wrap about whether we should go and what we should do about it. And we put some of our own content out about, how we made the decision and how hard it was to make the decision. Ultimately, we felt that, Liverpool are out here. Liverpool have made their feelings as a club known as well, which I thought was a good thing. They couldn't, some clubs would maybe not get involved in it. Liverpool have got involved. Liverpool have said it's not acceptable and they want investigations, and they put their weight behind those kind of things. I would echo that really as well. I think what was good as well was that, for supporters coming over here, LGBT supporters who maybe were a little bit concerned, Liverpool did the homework, made sure that they came out here, made sure that, their safety would be guaranteed and that there wouldn't be a problem for those supporters. Some of those supporters are out here and are doing just fine, and long may that be the case. I think that was really good work by Liverpool to make sure that was the case. And ultimately as well, we were talking about it amongst our friends last night, and we were saying, well, this country wants the World Cup, it wants the sporting events, it wants Western people living and working here. So ultimately, it's gonna have to shift on some of its cultural positioning, and hopefully that will be the case. I think there is some good work being done around the workers, but maybe not enough, because you're still reading pretty grim stuff about people dying and then it being sort of covered up, and they're not giving money to the families and things like that. No one with a heart can say that that's a good thing. So yeah, it was a dilemma, but ultimately, what we do at the Anfield Wrap, we follow Liverpool everywhere, and we felt that we had to follow them here too.
Do you think it's going to be ready for the World Cup? Do you think this is an environment where you could have, heaven knows how many different teams actually playing in a World Cup in Qatar?
They've still got a couple of years to sort things out, haven't they? And it feels like they are really committed to doing that. We've had various people speaking to us sort of off the record already about our experience. So the stuff I just relayed to you about getting into the ground, that's already being relayed to an organiser who will take that information away. So for instance, they were saying, well, maybe we let you all stay in the fan park a little bit too long. Maybe we should have herded you out and got you on buses earlier, and just got people in and around the ground and going through the turnstiles a little bit earlier than was the case. So, if that continues to be the case, if they continue to invest the money that they are in knowledge and expertise, I'm sure it will be fine. There does seem a real determination here to make it work, and it would be a big embarrassment to them if it didn't. So I'm pretty confident it will be fine, yeah.
Football fans obviously like to booze when they're at matches. What's the situation?
In the fan park, you could drink, and it was absolutely fine. In the hotels, you can drink too, and it's absolutely fine. It's not the cheapest. In the fan park, though, they have lowered the prices, so it's around about £5 a pint, which is, you're paying that anyway in most cities, British cities or wherever, and in Ireland too these days. So that's good. When you venture further afield, though, you can be paying sort of £9, £10 and more for a drink. Obviously, the key thing is not appearing to be intoxicated on the streets. You can be arrested for that. But so far, it appears that they are being lenient around certain things. Like, there was talk that you wouldn't be able to walk around in shorts and stuff like that. Obviously, they're quite strict around what females are wearing too. But the shorts thing has been let go. I heard quite a funny conversation with some of the lads who were playing in the fan park. Apparently, they were told about the shorts thing, and they said, well, what's the problem with the shorts? And the person who was acting as a bit of a middleman said, well, it's seen as being a bit sexual. And they were like, have you seen the state of some of these lads who are going to come and play on the stage? It's not sexual. They just want to get some sunshine. And there is some sunshine today, by the way, which is very welcome. It was raining when we arrived.
Gareth, we'll let you go. Good stuff. Enjoy the final as well. Thanks a million for joining us.
Thanks a lot.